So one of the things that students find really difficult in this class is figuring out how their grades are calculated and then figuring out what not doing an assignment, what kind of effect that's going to have on their grade. So I wanted to give you some idea as to what my Excel spreadsheet looks like and how your final grade is calculated, in addition to how a change in your grade is going to affect you, because it's not clear in Blackboard, especially at the beginning of the semester when it's counting one quiz as 100% of your grade. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick explanation of what these things are, but the thing that's most important to look at is this final grade and how, when I make changes in here, it's going to affect your final grade. Okay, so over here, this is your discussions and your blogs. I counted this, I put this in a separate place. You will have a total of 6 of them, each worth 8 points apiece. So this student, this is a fake student. Right now, this student has a 100 in the class. So they got the full 48 points on their blogs. Now this part is what's really important, okay? The discussions, quizzes, projects, problem sets, mini quizzes, participation, and your final. These are each of the different parts of your grade. So discussions are worth 8%, so it's a grade out of 8 points. Your quizzes, when they're graded, you get a grade out of 100, okay? And what Excel does is it converts it to something that's 30% of your grade. Your project is worth 8%, so again, I just give you a grade out of 8. It simplifies things. Your problem sets are worth 10%. So every time that you hand in a problem set, you're either getting a 5, which means it's completed, it's done. Okay, I grade problem sets on completeness, not correctness. If it's incomplete or late, then that goes down. And essentially, I just say, okay, the student got a 5, they still have 100. The student got a 3 on this problem set, their grade decreased to a 98, a 98. This person got a 3 on the next problem set, now their grade is a 96. So I just subtract, everybody starts off with 100, and then I just subtract points based on whether or not you got points subtracted from your homeworks. Mini quizzes, you get a grade out of 10, it's worth 10%. Participation, worth 4%, you get some grade out of 4. And then your final exam is worth 30%, so I take your final exam grade and convert it to something out of 30%. So these are the different parts of your grade. Now let's take an example and see how it affects. So look at this final grade. Right now, the student would have an A+. Imagine that on quiz 1, they got a 60. Notice it changed nothing. That's because I dropped the lowest quiz grade, okay? But let's say that on quiz 2, they also got a 60. That only drops their grade to a 96 if they still have 100 on quiz 3 and quiz 4, okay? Now let's say on quiz 3, they got a 70. Okay, their grade dropped to a 93 because now they have 70 on the quiz. And let's say on quiz 4, they got an 80. Well, you can see that with these grades, if you get perfect scores in everything else, you get a 91. Okay, but this may not be so realistic, right? Because if you have 70 quiz average, what's the likelihood that you get 100 on your final? Well, let's see what happens if we drop your final to a 70. Okay, well, you get a 70 average on your quizzes, a 70 on the final. If you do really well in every other aspect of this, meaning you do all your homework, your projects are really top, they're really good, your discussions are very thoughtful, and you get a 10 out of 10 on your mini quizzes, well, now you have an 82. So you still have a B- in the class, okay? Okay, let's say that, again, maybe it's not so realistic. Your mini quizzes are in a 10. You work hard, though. You get 2 opportunities from each mini quiz, so you work really hard, and you get an 8. Well, now your final grade's still an 80, okay? So now we're not anywhere close to perfect. Okay, let's say that on your projects, you average, instead of an 8, getting perfect scores, let's say you average a 6 on your 2 projects, meaning let's say you get a 5 on one, a 7 out of 8 on the other. Okay, well, your grade only dropped to a 78. Notice when your project average drops 2 points, your final grade drops 2 points. So if you don't do your project at all, you don't do either project, now you went from a B plus to a B minus. Or I'm sorry, a C plus to a C minus. Okay? Not doing your projects at all. You drop 2 grades, a C plus to a C minus. Okay? Let's move everything back to, let's say they get a 90 on all of your quizzes. Okay? 90 on all of your quizzes, 90 on your final. And let's say you get a 9 on your mini quizzes. Okay? And we'll say you get a perfect score on your project. So if you get a 90 across the board, you still get an A. This is like borderline between an A minus and A. The thing that can make a difference is just you do some extra credit. Or, you know, to be honest, this is where it can get a little subjective because you're completely on the borderline here. If you're attending synchronous sessions, that can move up your grade. If you're very active in discussion, that can move up your grade. So little things where you're getting an 8 on a discussion, but you actually replied to several students, and I can't give you more than an 8. This is where having a 93 can move you up to an A instead of down to an A minus. Okay, but again, look at the difference. You don't do your projects. Now that dropped you down to a B. You were on the borderline of an A. Now you're clear smack in the middle B. Let's go back. Let's say you don't do any mini quizzes. That brings you down to a B. Okay. Let's go up. Let's say that you do all your mini quizzes. You get a 10. You're at a 94. That's A, no doubt. You don't attend any of the seminars. Now you're at a 90. You're at an A minus. And if you're attending no seminars, you're border A minus B plus. I'm likely to give you a B plus there because it's borderline. Okay, let's say you attend your seminars. Okay, and this is, let's say you attend half your seminars. Now you're a definite A minus. Okay, let's change this around a little bit. Let's say you are doing okay in everything. Let's move your mini quizzes, your participation back up to a 4. Okay, you're a solid 90. Let's say that you don't do any discussions. Now you're at a B. Okay, this is not a B plus. This is a B. You don't do any discussions. You don't do any projects. Everything else is a 90. You're a 90 student. You can score a 90, but because you're not doing your assignments, you're at a C plus. Okay, let's say that you're a solid 85 student. So you get 85s on everything, and let's say you bomb a quiz. You get a 60 on it. Notice? Makes no difference. Your quiz average is still an 85. So if you bomb one quiz, don't make yourself crazy. You bomb the quiz, it happens. Okay. Notice I'm not changing this discussion grade because this discussion grade is independent of what's happening here. Okay. This is coming from here, but I'm just changing it to make things easy. So ignore this. Let's go back. You get perfect scores on your discussion. You get perfect scores on your projects, participation, and your solid 85. Your final is an 85. You have a 91 in the class, being a solid 85 student. Okay, that's because you attended your seminars. You did your projects. You did an amazing job on your projects. You did an amazing job on your discussions, and your mini quizzes. You really worked hard on. Let's be realistic. Let's say that your average on the mini quizzes was an 8.5. Okay, that still puts you at an 89.5. Okay, still, which is still, to me, that's an A minus. Okay, project. Let's say you do your projects, but you really don't do a very good job. You get an average of a 4. Okay, that's not a good job on your projects at all. That drops you from what I would consider most likely an A minus to a solid B. Now let's say you don't do any discussions. Well, now you're at a C, C plus. You're kind of on the borderline. You're most likely going to get a C here, okay? Unless there's something, that's really extraordinary that, I just wasn't able to count in any way, but that's unlikely here. Okay. Okay, let's say you do half your discussions, or you do your discussions. A lot of people will average a 4 on their discussions because they're giving a single line answer. They're saying, oh yeah, I agree with you. Or they're clearly not putting a lot of thought in. Okay, that hurts you. It still hurts you because instead of remember, when you had an 8, full credit on your discussions, you had a solid B. Now you have a 4. You're a clear B minus, okay? So it still drops you a half grade. And again, if you don't do any discussions, it drops you a full grade. It drops you from a B to a C, okay? Your projects, you don't do one project, you're still averaging a 4. If you're missing a project, you're averaging a 4. And that's if you do an extraordinary job on your first project. Okay, if you get an 8 on your first project and you don't do the second one, then you average a 4. Let's say that you get a 6 on your first project and you don't do your second. Now you're averaging a 3. What could have potentially been a B plus is now a solid B. There's nothing I can do to help you. Okay, let's go back. You do great on your projects. You do great on your discussions. You're participating. You're a solid 85 student. You're missing 4 problem sets, just 4. Well, missing 4 problem sets is going to drop your problem set grade down to an 80. And what was a solid B plus, possibly an A minus, okay, that's dropping you down to a B. And that's missing 4 problem sets, okay? Now, let's say that you have 1 incomplete. 1, just 1. You're still at a B plus. Okay, you're no longer an A minus, but you're a B plus. Okay, and the A minus with not missing a problem set, not having any incompletes or anything, it was kind of on the borderline. So you get 1 incomplete, it's not going to be that much of a problem. Let's say that you get 2 incompletes, which I think is 2 incompletes is going to drop you down to a 96. Okay, notice 2 incompletes is not going to make a huge difference. This would definitely be a B plus. It would not push you into A minus range. But you have 2 incompletes. It's not the end of the world. Some people really have a problem with this. But then I get students who miss like 6 problem sets. Okay, you miss 6 problem sets. Let's move everything else. Let's keep you at an 85. You're missing 6 problem sets. Now you have 70 on your problem sets. You're clear B. Okay, it does become a problem. The more problem sets you miss, the bigger the problem becomes. Okay, so hopefully this just gives you a little bit of an idea. Notice your final, if you get a 60 on your final, you're still passing the class. Okay, let's say that you get a 50 on your final. You're still passing the class. Now, it's unlikely that if you're getting a 50 on your final, you're going to get a quiz average of an 85. So let's say that you're getting 60s on your quizzes. Okay, 60s on your quizzes. Okay, a 50 on your final, but perfect on everything else. That's putting you at a 68.5. Now, this means that technically you failed the class, but if you do some extra credit, I can move you up to a passing grade, okay? And if you get a 60 on your finals, so 60 on everything, you can still pass this class, okay? 60 on everything, and you are still passing. And that's given an 8.5 on your mini quizzes. If you can get a 10 on your mini quizzes, it's a clear pass. Okay, you might even potentially be moving into C range. And if you get 100 on your problem sets, you're definitely a C. Okay, that's if you get a 60 on all of your tests. Now, that doesn't mean that you should get a 60 on your tests. What it means is that even if you don't test well, you can still pass this class. Okay, but if you don't put time into anything, you get a 60 on things, you average a 4 on your discussions, you do only one, you average a 4 on your projects, your mini quizzes, let's say you barely do them, maybe you're averaging a 2 because you're not really doing it, you don't attend your seminar, you're failing this class. There's nothing I can do to help you, okay? And in cases like that, it's rare that students are scoring 60s. Those students are scoring more like 40s, okay? But there's nothing I can do. So there's very, very little subjectivity here, okay? The subjectivity comes in when we're on the borderline between a minus and, between, let's say, a B minus and a B, or between a B and a B plus. That's where the subjectivity comes in. It's where you're so close to a borderline that it's kind of like, okay, well, your discussions were excellent, so I'm going to push you up that half grade. That's the only place where there's subjectivity. Everything else is very, very objective. So keep that in mind when you're watching your grade get calculated. Also keep in mind that the quizzes do change a tremendous amount. If you get a 60 on your first 2 quizzes, let's just so that you can see, let's say you get a 60 on your first 2 quizzes, that's going to show you a quiz average of 60, and it's going to show you your final grade as 56, okay, assuming you get a 60 on the final. Let's change this. Let's say that now you study really hard, you work really hard, now you're getting a 90s, okay? Notice you wind up passing, okay? And if you work really hard and then you get a let's say an 80 on your final, well, now you're practically passing, okay? So, and that's, again, you're not doing your discussions. If you do your discussions and let's say you average a 7 and you do both your projects, and let's say you average a 6 and you're doing your mini quizzes and you average an 8, notice those first 2 60s really didn't mean very much. Oh, and of course you're attending your seminars. Okay, the fact that you got 2 60s at the beginning of the semester really didn't mean very much. You totally changed your grade. So just keep that in mind, that at the beginning, low grades don't dictate what your final grade is. Your final grade can change a tremendous amount. Okay, and again, you don't go to the seminars. That 83, which is a B minus and potentially on the borderline of a B, seminars drops you down to a C plus. And if you're not attending any seminars, there's no subjectivity about this. You are getting a C plus. There's no way you're going to be moved into B minus range. Okay, so that's it. So hopefully that gives you a better idea as to how your grade is calculated. And again, you can ask me any questions. And at the end of the semester, if you want a breakdown of your grade, you want to see this column here, this row, I'm happy to give that to you.